911, what's the address of the emergency?
I just had an accidental discharge.
What was that, ma'am?
Accidental discharge of a firearm.
Okay, ma'am, and what's going to be the address for this?
327 Southeast 32nd Ave.
And can you repeat it one more time?
Damn it! No! No, no, no!
Ma'am?
No! Oh my God! No!
Ma'am, what happened?
Me and my girlfriend were cleaning my gun, and we were trading it back and forth, and I didn't know it was loaded, and I fucking shot her. No! I need an ambulance right now, please.
All right, ma'am, we're getting help on the way, okay?
Please. Oh my God! No! No!
Ma'am, I need you to take a deep breath. We're getting help on the way.
I'm not. No, please. God damn it! I lost. No. 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 Oh my God.
Ma'am, I need you to take a deep breath. We're getting help on the way, okay?
327 Southeast 32nd Ave, please. No, oh my God. I don't. No, God. Damn it.
Okay, well, that was quite the entrance there and quite the 911 phone call. Now, a couple of things to clear up about this phone call very quickly. You heard them saying, ma'am, ma'am, ma'am. And while I will say the defendant does kind of sound like Large Marge from Pee Wee Herman, I'm just going to have to go ahead and say that. The defendant here who you see on the screen, the male, is the one making that 911 phone call. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is a case that is recent, 2025. This just, when I say wrapped up, there was a conviction that came through. And in a moment, we're going to go over the overview of it so that everybody is on the same page. One reason I wanted to talk about this, well, the first reason is several people asked me to look at his interrogation, some time on the stand, etc. But also, this is a particular type shooting in which this gentleman that we are seeing is an officer, or was an officer, a deputy, and he accidentally killed his girlfriend. And a lot of people have a lot to say about that in the comment sections, which I found very interesting and we'll talk about. So before we go any further and finish listening to the 911 phone call, let's do an overview so we're all on the same page. So September 19th, 2024, a little over a year ago, around 11 p.m., the dispatch center of Ocala Police Department got a 911 phone call, the one we're listening to right now, from the defendant, saying his girlfriend, who was later identified as Paulina Wright, was shot in the head while cleaning guns. Now, first responders do get there, and when they get there, they see Leslie, the defendant. He's standing behind her chair, holding the victim basically, right? Holding Paulina. Now, she was very promptly pronounced deceased on the scene. Now, during the initial questioning, Leslie would say that him and his girlfriend, they go to a restaurant, they have some margaritas, they're doing their thing, whatever, and they get back home. And he says that she, the victim, wanted him to teach her about cleaning and using firearms. So during this, he claims that he had cleared the weapon that the victim was handling before she pointed it at him and dry fired. Now, at that time, he picked up a semi-automatic rifle before pointing it at the victim and firing the weapon. Now, Leslie stated that the gun was dry fired the first time before shooting an actual round, which fatally injured his girlfriend. Now, after they got the evidence from the scene, they did, trajectory analysis, etc., and through his own admissions, he was arrested and charged. Now, like I said, many people felt a lot of certain ways during the comment section, and one thing I want to note before we go any further is on that video when it first called 911 and he was like, it was an accidental discharge. It was an accidental discharge. Keep that in the back of your mind for how many times he is saying this right off the rip of, it's an accident, it's an accident, it's an accident. And we'll get to my opinions on that in a minute. So before we even get back into that 911 phone call, you're going to want, if you've got a little puppy for comfort, if you've got your little mug for coffee, and you're definitely going to need your seatbelt for today's video.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup at hey.
Now hold on everybody, let's do a quick sofa sidebar now. Keep in mind, ain't no cop, ain't no doctor, ain't no lawyer, ain't no therapist, ain't none of that fancy credentialed stuff, okay? Only credentials we got up in here is my sass, and this sofa. Now keep in mind also, I'm just giving my opinions on very public information, so do your own research, come to your own opinions, and drop them off in the comment section. And while you're down there, if you do like what you see here at the Sofa Squad, drop a little like, drop a little comment, drop a little share. It helps the channel out immensely. Now let's get edition. Hello Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. We got a sofa. We got a Paul. We have a Bill. We do. And Bo has kisses. My name is Paul if you're new to the channel. If you're not new to the channel, my name's still Paul. Okay. Now, I already told you what all we're getting into today. So, like I said, buckle up and let's finish that last part of the 911 phone call.
I'm
We're already getting help on the way, ma'am.
Oh my God! I'm sorry, babe. I love you. No! No! I need help right now.
We're already getting help on the way, ma'am.
I love you. God damn it, no!
Just bear with me one second, okay? We're getting help on the way.
No!
All right. And ma'am, how is she doing now? Is she breathing? Is she awake?
No, she needs medics. She's shot in the head. God damn it!
Ma'am, is she obviously deceased?
I don't want to say that. No, babe, no! I don't think she is. I can still feel a pulse. Hurry up!
All right.
I'll have
All
that.
right, ma'am. And where in the head was she shot? The front, the side, where?
The front, the forehead. No! No! Oh my God! No!
We're already getting help on the way, okay?
Oh. The door's unlocked. God damn it, no! I knew it should have been doing this! No! Oh my God, hurry up, I need help.
We're already getting help on the way, ma'am.
Okay. So let's talk a couple of minutes about the 911 phone call. The 911 phone calls, and I often don't cover them because they're very, how would you say it? Just very, trauma based. You're hearing people and like a moment. Times that I do like to cover them is when there's a question to the, how would you say, authenticity of them and whatnot. So one thing that I'm looking at in this, and again, I'm also basing some of this on just like comment sections and whatnot because it was so prevalent in this case. Watching him listening to the 911 phone call, and I saw people say this and I can see it as well, and I have some thoughts on it, and that is he seems to have a little smirk on his face, right? One thing in watching Leslie is this guy's name, is to me, he seems very awkward. Okay. And I'm not making excuses from him because I do have opinions as to what I think probably maybe not like actually happened here. But he also seems two things to be true at once, right? So he seems awkward. He seems like, I don't even know the words to put it because part of me wants to say like he's embarrassed to show emotion, which you could say that about a lot of men. He's, smirking, he's this, he's that, but he looks like he's trying to remain neutral. Yet we see this throughout everything, and we're going to see it in a minute when he's even in the interrogation room just after this happens. This incredibly relaxed, like chill vibe for someone, which also makes the extreme reaction he's having in this phone call seem a little bit odd or like not in tune with the rest of his demeanor throughout this. Now, on the other side of the fence, I'm like, normally I would expect someone to be freaked out, okay? Now, a couple of key things, and he is acting freaked out. A couple of key things in this is number one, right off the bat with the phone call, it's an accident. Remember Michael Peterson with the staircase? First thing, she fell on the stairs. It's always a little bit of a red flag when someone is mostly concerned with getting out what happened first, and it's when that what happened is excusing them from being in trouble. So we have an accidental shooting. Okay, why is that important right now, right? She was shot in the head. Now mind you, he's a deputy, so he might be speaking in cop language, and if you know about that, drop in the comments. So there's that. Now when he's going on, no, I knew we shouldn't have done this, we're gonna hear from his own mouth later on how often they do this little ritual of cleaning guns and training and all this stuff we're about to hear, right? Spoiler alert, it ain't that often, okay? Which is another kind of like, you know, what was really going on here? So now what we're going to do is we're going to fast forward a little bit, okay? And we're going to look at some of the clips from his interrogation.
All right, so kind of, like I said, I was kind of coming into the back end of this. Tell me exactly what happened.
It was an accident. We were training.
What do you mean by that? You were training?
We were doing dry fire drills and cleaning the guns.
Okay, so just pause real quick. First of all, this right here, it was an accident. We were training. We were doing dry fire drills and cleaning the guns. Now, he makes this out like this is normal, right? Like this is every Friday night we do this, but we're going to hear some oddities about that whole scenario there. Now, again, another thing that I saw a lot of people comment on was this general just like kicked back. Yep, it was an accident, boys. Hey, you mind if I get home? I've got some Nintendo to play. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole kind of vibe. Now, again, do I know this guy? No, don't know him. Am I a body analyst person? Absolutely not, right? So there's all that. Does it strike me as odd, his composure, especially after what we just heard and what he went through? Yes. Now, also keep in mind, he knows he works with this guy here, right? They've known each other for a long time. When I say works with, they've just, you know, they will state they've known each other for a long time, okay? So keep that in mind that you're dealing with this. And so what I'm getting at is I'm not trying to accuse outright anybody of like covering up or changing this or doing that. But to me, it seems like a little bit of a conflict of interest in this scenario because, again, somehow his girlfriend ended up shot in the forehead by a deputy, by an officer of law who has been trained to handle guns, who went out, had margaritas, came home, and went through this whole thing. Now, also keep in mind that the prosecution during this will say, we are not trying to say he did this intentionally. I know I hate using that word. Yeah, we are not trying to say that he intended to kill her, but we are saying he put a gun to her head and pulled the trigger, right? So this is where the manslaughter and all this comes into play. So the prosecution is framing this in a certain way, and we'll get to more of my thoughts on that, as well as what the public sentiment seems to be on those charges. But first, let's talk about the victim a little bit. So Paulina Wright was only 25 years old, and they had only been going out for a couple of years. Now, we'll hear that she essentially kind of lived with him and whatnot. I mean, she's staying over there a lot, whatever, right? Family members speak very highly of her. She's going to school, and we'll get more into the specific details. Lights up a room, great personality, etc., etc. She sounded like a bright light that was here on Earth who lost her life too soon for a completely avoidable reason. Let's go ahead to that next clip.
I was so worried about her because she picked up a loaded gun. I unloaded her gun and I forgot mine. Had a magazine in it.
Now, he'll say this throughout where he's like, I was worried about her, I was worried about this. And I remember he's saying that they're doing training, they're doing this. And it makes me wonder, like, one thing I sit here and think is I'm just like, well, what was this, you know, when I say a normal routine, I'm like, how often were you cleaning your guns and doing this? And, you know, and it doesn't sound like too often. We'll hear here in a little bit, you know, and it also sounds like, and for lack of better terms, like a mansplaining thing where he's like, oh, well, you know, the little lady was handling the gun. She didn't know what she was doing. You know, I got some training on this now. Well, we see how that worked out, right? And in a normal sense, I could understand if you're sitting here training somebody with a gun and they just pick it up and like, whoa, hold on now. This is what we do. But the fact that they'll describe both of them pointing guns at each other, all sitting across from each other, something doesn't make sense about it.
Was she pointing the gun at you? Were you pointing the gun at her? Like, kind of go through
Just
that.
in a general direction.
Right.
Which I know is fucking wrong. We should not have been doing that. She was a woman.
So also keep in mind that he's telling somebody who's also an officer of law of some sort, of detective, who, you know, they know each other. And he's like, and you heard what he said, in the general direction, right? Now, to me, this sounds like you're, you're minimizing what was really going on, because I'm like, well, the general direction doesn't equal a forehead shot, right? Now, again, this is an officer having to admit, yeah, we went out and drank a bunch of margaritas and came home and like cleaned guns and dry fired them at each other's heads. How horrible does that sound? Even if it was like a completely, like if we could have been there, not only for that moment in time, but also the relationship to see, yeah, this was absolutely an accident, just 100% being careless. There's nothing going on, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's so bad, right? It's so clearly a manslaughter at minimum case then. And at worst case scenario, it's like a first degree or, a second degree, whatever you would call it, a murder, a more intense murder charge.
Obviously, I wasn't doing it properly because we were pointing the guns at each other, or in our, I wouldn't really say at each other, in general directions, which, because we were sitting across from each other.
Now, again, you hear him say, well, I wouldn't really say at each other, but the general direction, because we were sitting across from each other. And remember in the 911 phone call, he's sitting here saying, oh, no, I know he shouldn't have been doing this. I knew he shouldn't have been doing this. And we'll hear from him later as well, admitting to this mistake. And so a large part of what I see in a lot of the discourse about this particular case, about, the evidence and whatnot, is a lot of people feel like, and for lack of better terms, that the good old boy system covered up a more severe murder charge. Like, okay, here we go. This is our coworker, he's a good guy, that type thing, right? Now, there is other cases, and I can't think of their names right now, that we've witnessed. One of them was an officer who killed his wife. The mother was living with him, and he got away with this for quite some time. And even the mother of her believed it. I can't remember the name of it, but this is kind of like a trope of, we were cleaning the guns and it accidentally went off. However, an officer of law is usually held to a higher standard when it comes to handling a weapon. I would hope.
So then she has a 9mm.
Yeah.
And she's waving it around, but you clear it.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure hers was unloaded.
Okay. So
obviously I failed to do the same with mine.
So he's concerned about hers being unloaded. He's just, what it sounds to me like is, he's more concerned about hers, maybe a little bit too confident with his own skills. So he's not making sure that his is, but how convenient is that, right? And that's another thing I see people talking about in the comment section is, so he was able to make sure that her weapon that would have hurt him was not, was good to go, but he's, happens to be careless with his. Who knows what really went down with that. Now, again, to go a little bit more in depth about the victim, Paulina was born on December 31st, 1998. She was raised in Floral City, Florida by her parents, John and Karen Wright. And again, she was only 25 years old when this happened. She had so much more life to live.
I can't believe she's gone.
So
now, this is a prime example of I can't believe she's gone, where he just seems like he dials it in with everything that he says, right? There's something not very believable about it, for lack of, better way to say it. It doesn't seem believable. It just seems like he's almost annoyed as opposed to sad. So Paulina studied accounting at the College of Central Florida, and she got her associate's degree there. Now, she was continuing to even move past that. She took her strength of attention to detail. She spent 2 years working as a bookkeeper in Citrus County before she moved to Ocala in 2021, where she continued her works in accounts payable. Now, the information that I'm using to talk about the victim Paulina here is from her obituary, and they wrote a very beautiful one, and we'll go over this in little bits and pieces as we go through these clips. Now, let's go on to the next clip. Speaking of,
you and I have known each other for a long time. I'm not going to bullshit you. But
That's why I didn't ask for a lawyer. I didn't lawyer. It's a fucking accident. I didn't mean for this to happen.
I get it.
I'm never going to be able to.
okay, this part right here. So this is what I was talking about, where the guy goes, the detective says, we've worked for a long time. We've known each other for a very long time, yada, yada. And he's like, that's just why I didn't ask for a lawyer. I just want to see what happened because this was an accident. It was an accident. Like, you can tell he's scared. Okay. Now, again, let's put any of us in the same situation, right? Pretend that it is a legit accident. Like, I did not mean to do this. And there's two versions of an accident. There could be you were doing everything you possibly could to be careful, and like opposite of what happened here, and something fired, it ricocheted off, it hit her in the head, legit, like, oh my gosh, right? And I would question if that was the case, if you would be looking at the same charges. Then you have this, and this is going on based on this as an accident. Then you have this right here of, okay, so you went out drinking and you came home and you're cleaning your gun and she's sitting across from you and you're each pointing the gun at each other, and you didn't realize that the thing was in your clip and you shot her in the head. That's an accident. Yeah, that's really bad. And I think he's aware of that. I mean, these are officers, right? It's like, dude, I mean, this is not good, okay? And then there's we were in an argument, we were cleaning the guns, she ticked me off, I shot her in the head, okay? Or whatever the case could be, right? I mean, they didn't the prosecution's not saying that that's what they were going after, and who really knows? But these are the different versions that, we could go down the pipeline of, is what I'm getting at. Now, Paulina was also looking to transition into a new career as an optometrist tech, and she even had plans to go to school at CF to further her education, and she wanted to one day work as a radiology technologist.
So she grabs the 9mm. You unload it because you realize that it's loaded. Is that
Yeah, I
right?
told her to be careful because it was loaded. And I was like, hand it here, let me unload that. So if you're going to mess with it, type of deal. I wasn't going to clean that one. I had no reason to clean that one. So I just unload that one and hand it back to her. She started doing her thing, and her dry firing that made me start dry firing the rifle.
So you dry fired the rifle one time, and then when you did it the second time, because the magazine had been loaded into
Correct.
it forced a round into the chamber.
Correct. That's an accident.
Again, how many times are we going to say accident? This is him describing what happened. So you have a loaded, you put a magazine in, it forced the bullet into the thing, and you're fired. Like, I cannot imagine holding a weapon, even if it was empty. And here's the thing. I mean, when I grew up, like, my dad taught me how to shoot guns and whatnot, but I wasn't like a gun person, if that makes sense. So I had a healthy fear and respect of guns. I viewed guns like they will kill you or someone, right? Period. End of story. So even when I'm around people with guns, it's just for this exact reason, it makes me incredibly nervous. I don't care if it's empty. Do not point that thing at me. Absolutely 100% not. So this dude sitting here talking about he had put a clip in and pointing it. Are you what? And again, I just keep coming back to this. You're an officer and you're doing this. Are you crazy? She was dry firing. It made me start dry firing. There's something is very odd about this. Something is very, very odd about this. So like I said earlier, her parents spoke so highly of her in the obituary. They said that she was a gentle soul who spread so much joy and warmth, lighting up every room she walked into with her smile and dimples. Some of her favorite days were spent at home, cuddling up with her cat, Allie, and rewatching Friends or New Girl. She was a lover of food, both eating, especially chips and salsa, and cooking, always known to follow recipes to a T. On a Sunday morning, you could find her at the farmer's market picking up fresh ingredients for her recipes.
Have you guys done this before in the past? Okay. So
It sounds bad, but after we go to dinner and have a few drinks, I get sloppy, I guess. I should not have been allowing that to happen.
how much did you have to drink tonight?
Just 3 margaritas. We each had 3.
Now you can hear as it goes on a little bit, the detective guy's kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, because again, listening to this, you would have to know as a fellow, badge holder, whatever, they might not be in the same position. When you're listening to someone you work with and, what I've known describing this, it's like, dude, what were you thinking, right? And now he's very quiet in this. You can't hear him say, but he'll answer the question as to how much they've done this later when the jury asks him questions. So I'm sure this officer was sitting here like, what WTF, okay? I mean, are you kidding me? So speaking of, let's go ahead and move over to the courtroom and see what his time on the stand looked like. So put this in a little shelf right here, okay? His demeanor, some of the answers that he's given, and his tone of voice that we've seen so far. And let's see now how he transitioned in time to a year later from the incident, what the vibe is.
Tell us about the drinks.
Well, we normally get 1 margarita when we're there because it's a large margarita. But it was 2 for 1s that night when we walked in. So and they were taking a while. We were there over an hour. So we just started ordering the 2 for 1 margaritas, and we landed on 3 by the time we were done.
How were they serving them?
And like little mug gauntlet things.
And 6 of them cost you $26.94. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that was less than $4.50 each.
Sounds about right.
Did they taste like they had any alcohol in them?
They taste a lot like sour mix, but
Okay.
So again, and we're gonna look at both sides of this, downplaying the margaritas. Now, if you've ever had margaritas out, like margarita specials, you already know he's probably not lying about it tasted mostly like margarita or, sour mix. But again, the downplaying of it, like, did it taste like it had alcohol in it? Because again, at the end of the day, you going out and having 3 margaritas and coming home and cleaning your weapons, what? Like, no, it's not going to fly over. Now, also, again, look at his demeanor. He's kind of like just very casual, but he's on the stand. It's been a year later. I get that to a degree. I'm not expecting some huge reaction out of him, but as he answers more questions, I would expect a little bit more.
Into the clothing that we've seen on the videos?
Correct.
Okay. And Paulina had a blanket on and nothing else.
Correct.
Was that normal?
At this point in the relationship, yes.
Okay. So that was typical for her once she got home and got comfortable, was to disrobe and grab a blanket.
I wouldn't say 100% of the time, but it was very common.
Okay, this was a huge thing in the comment sections. Okay, so we're going to talk about this for a minute. So again, understand this. They've gone out to dinner. They had a few margaritas. They're come home. He got whatever it was that he was waiting on to clean the guns from Amazon. It was there, right? There's evidence of this. They found it. So it was like a thing of, oh, I got this. I'm going to sit down and clean the guns. She allegedly is then out of the blue, I want to be trained on the guns. Okay. So she's butt naked in a blanket. Okay. And he's like, oh, that's kind of normal for her. Now, again, everybody's different, right? Everyone is different. I think many of us can vouch for, and it just depends. Like, when you get home, either the bra's coming off or, dudes, it's okay, we're just going to get down in the boxers. This is pretty standard protocol for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to get comfortable is what I'm getting at. Whether that's like, I'm going to be in my boxers or I'm taking my bra off and putting on a big shirt or whatever the case is, right? So many people, and I'm curious what your thought is about this part, because again, one thing you need to keep in mind is we're adding up the whole picture, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, so just keep this in mind. Drinking, cleaning guns, she's naked at the table, oh, this is what she does, okay. So many people were like, that just sounds so off. Like, to just, granted, some people go around butt naked and that's fine, but like, it just sounded weird to people. And to me, again, when I look at it, I'm like, well, I mean, again, most people get comfortable when they come home. Maybe that was her comfort zone to get a blanket. And that's what she does. I mean, again, so if you follow me for a while, I'm a major blanket person. So it is 100% normal when I am doing, like, I'm at home, I'm by myself, I'm in my comfort zone, I've got a blanket, a fan going, like a floor fan, and I'm usually in my gym shorts, and that's it. On the sofa, and it could be 40 degrees outside, and I will have that situation going. It could be 100 degrees outside, and that's my comfort zone. So I guess to me, the naked part for her was a little bit off, but it didn't throw me off that she was getting whatever her version of comfortable is. However, when we get into all the things that don't normally happen all the time, that all seem to happen on this evening, that's the weird part, but let's keep going for now.
Dale, have you thought about what happened that night and the mistakes that you made?
Plenty.
Every day?
Pretty much.
What should have been different?
We should have been sitting across from each other.
Why didn't you move her?
I thought we were being safe. It was our normal spots to sit.
Okay, this is the part when he asked me, he goes, plenty, almost every day. That's where I'm just like, and again, I don't know this dude to have a baseline for him, but it's like, he just acts like he's filling out a survey. Yeah, I guess I think about it. And I'm just like, I was hoping to see a little bit more emotion here. Like, oh my God, every day it haunts me. Even just a couple more words, right? But again, this might be the type dude that he is, and it's just not translating on the stand very well. And then again, he goes back to that we shouldn't have been sitting across from each other. I mean, there's a lot that shouldn't have been going on, right? Now, this is one of those trials where the jury can ask questions, and they ask some good ones, okay? So let's listen to those and we'll talk about it, just a couple of them.
Mr. Boileau, I'm going to ask you the questions that the jury has posed. And I'm going to ask them exactly as they're written. Had he cleaned guns in front of Paulina before the night in question?
No.
Did y'all hear that? Had he cleaned guns in front of Paulina before the night in question? No. Never done it before. Never done it. So you decided to come home after drinking. She's butt naked, sitting at a kitchen table, and you're going to clean the guns in front of her for the first time. Now, just keep that in your mind and let's go to the next one.
Why was her hand in front of her face at time of accident?
I have no idea.
Now, that sounds like the most legitimate thing right there. If I was sitting across from someone and they pointed a gun at me, my natural would be like, oh my God, don't, right? Now, he doesn't know why that took place. To me, it took place because it was a natural, like, defense, like a, oh, don't, you know, kind of a thing. I mean, but who's to say? No one can say, right? But that is huge to me, okay? Because if this was just like the way he describes the story in the beginning, it's like this is just an everyday occurrence, you know, once a week, whatever. This is a normal thing. Oh, we sit down, I train her, I do this, I do that, you know, I clean the gun, blah, 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 blah. It sounds more normal. Well, then once all the evidence comes out, it's like, oh, this is completely abnormal. They've never done this before, right? So she's not used to having her cop boyfriend point a gun at her. You know, she's not used to dealing with these guns like this. This sheds all new light on this for me. Let's go to the next clip.
At some point, defendant said, forgot it was loaded. Now he says he knew it was loaded. Why the change?
I don't believe I ever said it. I knew it was loaded. I remember hindsight that I put it together the normal way I would put it away, and I forgot I did that.
Now, I'll give him this right here on that, because oftentimes in these cases where you're making a statement based on hindsight of like, oh, wait, I remember that now. And so I could see where that could be a little bit confusing, but also the story in general doesn't seem to, I don't want to say add up. I mean, it doesn't really add up to me. And again, when you're like, well, Paul, what do you mean? Like, what's there to add up or whatever? What it's adding up to is, was this legitimately an accident? Or was there something else going on? It was like, oh, whoops, an accident. You know, we'll probably never know.
What do you mean, I knew better and I shouldn't have let this happen?
I should have changed something to keep this from happening. Should have been sitting across from each other.
Defense, any follow-up?
Now, he keeps going back to the we shouldn't have sat across from each other, which 100% like legit, right? But that seems to be a huge thing with him. So if this was legitimately an accident, you know, and it's completely unfortunate if it was. I mean, this beautiful young lady lost her life, right? Can you imagine dying at the hands of this? Like 1 second you're sitting there with your boyfriend and the next you're gone, right? She probably died instantly. I mean, he shot her in the forehead, right? So he clings to that. And again, you know, and we got a couple more clips to listen to, but let's listen to this one last one before we get to the verdict, and then we'll go over main thoughts. So let's jump into it.
Sir, the jury has posed an additional question. Are pointing guns at each other part of training?
No.
Okay. Now, so there's that. I don't know if that jury question meant from police academy or between them. Now, one thing that would come out is they've never done this before, right? This is not something that they did every Friday night and she wanted to get trained on guns. So all of this stuff is like a very brand new situation, which is what makes it so bizarre. So let's add up some stuff right here. So they go out to drinks, they get margaritas, they come back, he's got his stuff to clean the guns, he decides to do this. She strips down butt naked, grabs a blanket and says, train me on guns. She's picking up guns, dry firing them, doing this. He had never done this in front of her before. He forgets that, you know, he put a clip in it, forced one into it, and then he dry fires and shoots from the forehead. And then calls 911, screaming and yelling up one side and down the next, and then it's completely calm in the police station. You know, the vibe that I get, and again, this is all alleged, we're getting ready to listen to the verdict. It felt more like more so than regret, it was, oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble, right? Even if it was an accident, say we could be there and know and be in everybody's brains, but yeah, you know what? He didn't mean to do this. Like, this was legit an incredibly stupid, careless accident. It was like his biggest concern was, oh my God, I'm in trouble, right? And again, human nature, any of us would be like, that's just going to be normal. But that seems to be the forefront. Like, he's immediately covered up. He starts that 911 phone call. We have an accidental discharge. You know, maybe that's how cops talk, but like accidental shooting, you know what I'm saying? I'll give them that. Maybe there's some police lingo in that or whatever. Well, the jury didn't buy any of it. Let's hear their verdict.
Verdict, we the jury find as follows as the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of manslaughter. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the offense, the defendant personally carried, displayed, used, threatened to use, or attempted to use a firearm? Yes. So say we all, day this first day of October 2025.
So there you go. Now we'll wait for sentencing. He faces up to 30 years. Okay. Now you saw again, his lawyer had more of a reaction than him. So I do think that he's the type guy that doesn't show emotion, isn't going to do that, you know, especially if he's a cop or whatever, but he showed tons of emotion in that 911 phone call. So do I think, here's the biggest question that people are asking me. Do I think he did this intentional? And I hate using that word. I go back and forth. Okay. Part of me feels like there are so many careless things that went on here and such odd behavior, it leads me to think that there was some level of intention. And it could have been a momentary thing, because this is my thing. You know, when alcohol is involved, maybe he's hot-headed. She said something and he was like joking around, oh yeah, well, bam. And you know what I'm saying? It's 100% a fact that he held a gun and pulled the trigger to her head. He can discount that any way he wants to. She would not have a bullet in her forehead if that was not the case, right? So, and the prosecution saying, you know, look, we're not trying to say that he did this with the, you know, wanting to kill her, wanting to do this. They might not have been able to prove it, but they certainly have proved manslaughter, you know, at minimum. Do I think that there's a level of like, hey, you know, I've worked with these guys, blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, this goes on all the time, right? Sure. Do I think that they could have covered up a massive crime? There might just not be anything there. I would think in these kind of scenarios, because you have like, say, I don't know what you would call this, but the privilege of, you know, having a badge, you know, and the credibility that comes with that. His credibility goes out the door when he starts telling the story, because there's so many things wrong with it. It's like the drinking, the cleaning the guns, the sitting across from each other, letting her handle the guns. It's like, all this is wrong, right? And it probably goes on more than we would, you know, like to know. But in this level of carelessness, you know, it makes me think, my God, what would this guy have done? Like eventually, this is one of those where I feel like eventually we would have heard of him shooting somebody because like, well, they put their hands on the steering wheel, so I blew their head off. That type situation, right? Now, obviously, he no longer has a badge, okay? The man's going to be doing some time behind prison. At the end of the day, again, this young lady lost her life. She's only 25 years old. Her parents lost her daughter. You know, and here we go. And I can't imagine what it would be like to just sit here, hear this phone call, hear the carelessness of it, you know, from a trained officer, and that we ended up in this situation. So overall, I think that something nefarious went on, but I can't say to what level, you know, because obviously I wasn't there. I don't know. Nobody ever will. The cookie crumbled in such a way that nobody will ever know but him and her. Whatever took place during those last few minutes, if there was some moment of anger, a moment of rage, a moment of snapping, only he and only she will ever know. And sadly, she took that to the grave with her. Now, if you are still watching, I greatly appreciate it. And if you could, please drop some little sofas off in the comment section. And also, when you do that, do it in mind for little Roscoe, little Bowie, little Lukey, as well as you, the Sofa Squad, who is the most important. Thank you for making the channel possible. It would not be here without you. And until we meet in the comment section to do all that stuff we were talking about, bam, I'll see y'all soon.
I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Roscoe on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.
Welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup that, hey, 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 come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.